Okay. Now I'm going to actually look in our book, but I'm going to start a little bit in and then go backwards. So if I go underneath, I'm going to look at page 28. Okay. So in chapter 2, you're just going to slide ahead to page 8 here. Now, I just think they do it a little bit out of order, and then we'll back up and we'll do what they did there. Another way, kind of the more conventional way to go into AutoCAD, is to kind of have the option to either pick a template, or you can also do open, and you can get to kind of the traditional looking file management, that we normally are used to in Windows. So when you start up AutoCAD, you have actually 4 different ways that you can go in. The one that is the default is number 3, and it has that new tab on there, okay? The one that we're going to switch to is going to be number 1, okay? Now, this also becomes a personal preference, but I like this one so that when you go into AutoCAD, it kind of shows you directories right away rather than having to click on things and find things, I think. So, and I'm going to be quite honest, it's kind of like the more traditional AutoCAD way of doing it. So it tends to be the way that I go because that's what I'm used to. So what we're going to do is when we're in AutoCAD and we pulled it up our normal, how we have it the default way, all we're going to do is we're going to go down to that command line and we're going to type in startup, okay? Startup, that's it. And we're going to hit enter. And you'll notice that in those brackets, it has number 3 because that's the 3rd option of how you can set up that up. We're going to put in number 1. Okay, so we're just going to enter 1 and then enter. Okay, and that's it. And then we're going to actually file. We're going to exit out of AutoCAD. So don't go up to the application menu, go to file and all the way down to exit. Okay, because we want to shut down AutoCAD. All right. Now we're going to go back into AutoCAD. Gotta make this, minimize this. Okay. Go back into AutoCAD, double click on it. And now when we go in, instead of seeing the other menu, we should see this. Okay. This is the menu. Like I said, it's more traditional. And what it offers us is when we hit this piece of paper, start from scratch, it also gives us the option to either be in English units or imperial or in metric. When we were doing the ACAD one, it just went into inches, right? And then we would have to manually change it. We would have to manually change it into metric if we wanted to. This way we can pick it right on the onset, okay? So we're going to, for the one that we're going to be doing, it's actually going to be metric this time. So we're going to click on metric and then we're going to hit okay, right? Now that's starting new. And then this way, we'll double check our units, but they should be metric right away. So I'm going to go up to that applications menu, drawing units, and you're going to notice we're in millimeters, and that's exactly where I want to be. Now, the precision level, it's still set at 4. A lot of times you're not doing millimeters to the 4 decimal place. So if you want to change that to 1 or 2 decimal places, it's fine. 4 is fine too, okay? I kind of don't worry about that because it's just a 4th decimal place. So that's what I wanted to do. Now we're going to back up in our book and we're going to go back to page 2.4. Okay, page 2.4. Underneath my camera again. There we go. Okay, so at the top of page 2.4, here's a dynamic input. And I want to make sure that we have this available to us because, again, this is kind of like a more natural way of inputting coordinates into AutoCAD as we're kind of going along. So what it's going to have us do is it's going to have us add the dynamic input icon to our menu. So if I go back to AutoCAD down here and I go down to the very bottom right-hand corner where we've got those 3 horizontal lines, we're going to click on that. And this gives us an option to customize things. So we added coordinates before. What we want to do is we want to go on, where is it? Dynamic input. Mine's already checked, but you're going to check yours, okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to find right here on that bottom menu to the right of the snaps and the grips, that is where dynamic input is, okay? It added that little icon right now. Do you guys see that? So you've got your grid, your snap, and now dynamic input down at the bottom right tending side. Okay, everybody see that? make sure that that is activated. Make sure it's that bluish grayish color by clicking on it, okay? And for the most part, you want to leave that on all the time now, okay? All right. What that offers us to do is that anytime when we're clicking around, it's going to automatically be in that relative mode. We don't have to put the @ symbol in unless we're using the from command. Okay, we still have to do that. So it's good to still know it, but when we're just going, like, for instance, a perimeter around, we won't have to do that anymore. Okay, so in the beginning here, it kind of gives us a little tutorial. We're just gonna draw some random lines. Okay, and starting here, it wants us to start the line command, and we're gonna input our coordinates for the first point. So we're gonna hit the line command up here, and it just wants us to specify the first point. So we're gonna use absolute coordinates 3. And then because we are in this dynamic mode, instead of having to do the comma, we can just hit tab, okay? And we can hit 2, okay? And then enter. And then you're going to notice mine is actually off the screen, which is okay. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit with my roller. I'm going to either go towards or away from myself, okay? Totally up to you, right? Actually, it's in metric, so it's probably going to be kind of close. So I'm going to do push down, and I'm going to put this in the center, and I'm going to kind of get closer to it here, okay? So now basically where you see that X and Y, that's my absolute 0. And I was 3 and 2, or 3 over and 2 up from that. Now I'm just going to do another point. So if we go to here, we did the 2 or the 3 and the 2, and then we hit enter. And then we're going to move our cursor up and towards the right. And what we're going to do is we're going to type in 2 and then tab. So let's see what happens there. So if I move my cursor up and to the right, notice that it goes into what we call a polar mode as I push it. So I've got a length of my line and I've got an angle. Okay, so it's not coordinates anymore because it's the way that I have it pointed. So I'm going to just put in 2. I'm going to type in 2 here. And then I'm going to hit tab, and it's going to go over to that angle. And now I can input a value for my angle, and they're saying put in 30 degrees. Enter. Okay. And then now if I continue, it's going to go that same way. Now, if I want to go back to Cartesian coordinates, X, Y coordinates, instead of using the tab key, I'm going to put a comma between. So now, for instance, if I want to go over 2 and up 3 and just put the coordinates in, and this is step number 15, I'm simply going to kind of go up and to the right there, but now I'm going to go 2, comma 3, enter, and now I was able to put the coordinates in, okay? If I go down and to the right, you'll notice that it still stays in that relative polar mode, but you can just use a comma if you want to put coordinates in, okay? So just another way that we can input without having to always put that @ symbol in, okay? Dynamic input. So you're probably going to keep it on most of the time, quite honestly, okay? All right. Now, that was just a little practice. So what we're going to do is we are going to erase this. So you can go up to the erase, and I'm going to put a window around and hit enter. And I've got my screen nice and clean. Okay. Now we're ready to do the practice problem for this chapter 2, which is going to be the third practice problem, the last practice problem in our module 1 practice problems. Okay. So if we go to the bottom of page 27, okay. So 27 is our next page here. We're going to go right here. This is going to be the RockerArm design that we're going to be looking at. So it's going to be the RockerArm. That's going to be our next one. Notice that we are in metric units. That's why we went into metric right away. Okay. Now, in this particular part, I feel like sometimes there's a natural 0, 0, especially when we look at where the dimensions are coming from. Where do you think the natural 0, 0 for this part would be? right in that center, right? Because you're noticing that we have some dimensions going down and to the left, up and to the right, right? So what I'm going to do is, I kind of told you, I don't always pay attention to the 0, 0 and put things there, but in this case, it kind of makes sense. And sometimes you're going to run into parts where it does make sense. So we will put the origin, the 0, 0 right at the center of our part. So that's where we're going to start. And we're going to start not with the polygon that's here, but you'll notice that there is an arc here. It's a circle that is centered on here, and the circle has a radius of 50. So we're going to put a large circle right in the center at the 0, 0 of our file. So I'm going to go back to AutoCAD. Our 0, 0 is down here. So we're going to go up. You'll notice that this is giving us that radius of a circle of 50. So at the top here, that's going to be what the default is. So it's circle or center radius circle. I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to go down here and it's going to ask me where I want that center point to be. If I try to go close to this, it does not grab it because remember, that's not an entity. That's just giving us a symbol of where the 0, 0 is. That's it. Okay, so I can't click to that. But I can enter in my coordinates of 0, 0 for the center of that circle. And that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go 0, 0, enter. And now I've got my circle coming from it. Notice my circle is kind of small because again, it's metric and it's little here. So I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to just rotate my roller away from me. And then I'm going to press down and I'm going to pan and drag kind of to the center here. Okay. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to see it's going to be really big. So I'm going to have to zoom out again. That's okay. That's what we kind of do. I know that my radius needs to be 50. Okay. Enter. And now I don't see anything on the screen. Okay. You're gonna be like, where did it go? I know I put it in there. So what we're going to do is, remember we have that zoom little toolbox up here. So what we're going to do all the way over to the right, it's zoom extents. If I hit zoom extents, it brings in whatever I drew and it brings it and it scales it to the size of the screen. Okay. And then I want to make this a little bit smaller. I'm going to keep my cursor in the middle and I'm going to roller towards me to just make it a little bit smaller because I know I'm going to have things going up and to the right and down and to the left. Okay. So everybody here, did you get that going? All right. So you don't have to put those drawing limits. I think it's good to know that they're there. You don't have to define those each time you go into a drawing. You can just maybe draw an entity and then zoom extents and then kind of, play with the zoom there. I always think that's just a little bit easier. Okay. So we've got that circle in place. So let's go back underneath. The next thing that I want to do is I want to put the circle in the upper right-hand corner here. You'll notice that this has a radius of 25. So we're going to do a radius circle. And the center this time, we're going to place at 70 to the right and 40 up. Okay. So it shares the same center as that circle. All right. So I'm going to go back over here. Now, because we centered this at 0, 0, and I have the direct dimensions, I can do absolute coordinates for the center here, okay? Or if you want to draw the lines and do offsets, you can find those intersections as well, okay? But I'm going to draw that circle with the center radius, and it says specify your center point. So I know this is going to be a coordinate, absolute coordinate of 70, 40, right? Because it's up. Enter. So right here is that center. And then my radius is going to be 25. Enter. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to draw the circle down and to the left. So if I go back here, I want to draw a circle right here to represent, we're going to trim away what we don't need. Don't worry, but we're going to draw this as a circle first. And this one is 50 to the left and 60 down from our 0, 0. So since we're going to the left and down, those need negative values in front of them, okay? Because we're referencing the 0, 0 at the center here. So if I go back to AutoCAD, I'm going to do center radius again, okay? And it wants to know where my center is. My X direction is going to be negative 50, comma, negative 60. Enter. Now it went out, and I'm going to tell you why. My mouse pad here is on my computer, and so I must have hit it a little bit, so that's why it went out. So no big deal. I can rotate back in. And then this radius is also 25. There we go. So you should have that center circle and the two others. I'm going to do a zoom extents again, because now it'll have things in the center, and I'm just going to rotate back one time to just reduce it a little bit. And now it's nice and centered in my screen. Or you can always depress that roller and drag if you want to pan. Okay. Any questions right now? Okay. Let's go back and we're gonna see what we've got. So now the next thing we're gonna do is you're gonna notice that there is a tangent line. Okay. So it's gonna be tangent to this circle and tangent to this circle, straight line. And then we have another tangent line here. We're gonna put those two in. Okay. Go back to AutoCAD. And I'm going to zoom in just a little bit, and I'm going to pan down because I'm going to focus on this area right here. Okay. Now I'm going to activate the line command. And when I go over here, remember how I had running object snaps? Those are ones that are automatically activated and I can turn on and off. Well, tangent isn't one of them. Okay. But tangent is up here on my object snaps toolbar. And it's right in the middle. It's that circle with that little orange dot, okay? It's a snap to tangent. I am going to click on that, all right? And now when I get close to that circle, notice that it activates that tangent on the surface, okay? So I'm gonna click that. Now it doesn't know exactly where it's gonna be because it needs this one over here. Now if I go over here, notice it's not going tangent again. So I need to just go back up here, click on that tangent one more time, and then once it sees that edge, I can click, and now it's going to find that tangent point. Now, I'm done with the line here. I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to do that one more time so you can see how I activated it through the object snap. Okay, so I'm going to do an undo. So I'm going to click the line command. I'm going to go up to my object snap menu or toolbar. Right in the middle is snap to tangent. Click on that. I'm going to activate right here, click, and then I'm going to activate one more time, and then tangent again, okay? And then because it wants to keep going, I can either hit enter or escape, and it ends that command, okay? Now that's the first tangent line. I'm going to do that very same thing for the second tangent line, connecting the large circle to this one down here. So line command, tangent, go to that edge, around-ish, and then I got to activate tangent again, and then down here. Okay, escape.